The I-Team has uncovered a startling fact. Some 911 operators in Cincinnati have no medical training.
Chief Investigator Brendan Keefe is on your side with the I-Team investigation you'll see only on 9. Brendan?
Dying for help. Some victims are left holding the phone because dispatchers tell us when you dial 911 here in the city of Cincinnati, it's a game of roulette.
Cincinnati 911.
He has no pulse, no breathing, no nothing.
I'll walk you through CPR. Are you ready?
911 operators saving lives.
Got paramedics already responding. I want you to stay on line. I want you to listen to me. We're going to help me out, okay? We're going to do what we can to try and save her.
It happens every night in Cincinnati.
I want you to pump the chest hard and fast, at least twice per second, and at least 2 inches deep. Got it?
That's what it sounds like when the person who answers 911 is medically trained.
Can you feel her heart beating? Okay, then stop doing the compressions.
This is what it sounds like when they're not.
My sister, she may be having a heart attack.
I could have died that day.
She got a defibrillator.
My heart has stopped 3 times.
All right, we're going to go ahead and start EMS, okay?
Yes.
All right.
No one gave us any instructions. They just hung up.
Please hurry.
Ma'am, I'm not the one that's coming. EMS is coming, okay?
Yes.
I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the call. They've been dispatched, okay?
They're saying they're on their way and hang up. And your life is in someone else's hands.
Yes. I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the call. They've been dispatched.
The ambulance was on the way, but for the next 7 minutes, there was no one on the other end of the line as her defibrillator kept jolting Rhonda Andrews back to life.
I want to hear the person, a strong person, saying, take her, lay her down, do this, do that.
And
Instead, I heard, okay, they're coming, bye.
I start the fire department and get off the phone to answer other emergencies.
Saying that help is on the way without giving any pre-arrival instructions.
2 current Cincinnati police dispatchers told the I-Team they're often assigned to answer 911 calls with no medical training.
Are you trained today to handle a medical call?
No, I am not.
It's sad and scary at the same time. It's scary because you don't know what's going to happen to those people, and it's sad because you put yourself in their shoes, and how would you feel if that was you?
It keeps me up at night because I've gotten calls that I could not handle with the training given to me.
That's not the case in Hamilton County's 911 center.
What's your name, sir?
Where everyone who answers 911 calls is a certified emergency medical dispatcher. I'm standing on the city limits. That house is in Cincinnati. This house is in the county. When this resident dials Hamilton County 911, 19 times out of 20, this is what happens.
911 emergency dispatcher Hubbard.
19 times out of 20, Hamilton County 911 will answer the call within 10 seconds. But when his neighbor calls Cincinnati 911 in an emergency, there's a 1 in 5 chance this will happen. One out of every 5 emergency callers to Cincinnati 911 waits 10 seconds or longer just for someone to answer the phone.
Because that is really disturbing to me to see that kind of variance. Every second matters.
City council members grilled Cincinnati's emergency communications director, Joel Estes, who told them the city's hiring freeze is the real problem.
We currently have 17 vacant operator dispatcher positions and 10 vacant E911 positions.
27 unfilled positions at the newly civilianized emergency communications center. That's why untrained people sometimes answer emergency calls.
We're continuing to do either police or fire to get people on the floor and working as quickly as possible.
Mr. Estes. The I-Team tried to get answers as Estes left the hearing.
Is everyone who answers 911 in the city of Cincinnati medically trained?
No answer. After we confronted officials in City Hall, they granted our previous request for an interview with Director Estes.
Is everyone who answers a 911 call in the city of Cincinnati medically trained?
Emergency medical dispatch trained? Not at this time.
When police and firefighters jointly ran the dispatch center 3 years ago, 911 operators would transfer medical calls to paramedics sitting right next to them.
We don't do that anymore. Now the person who takes the call, in almost all cases, is EMD certified, and they're able to provide those pre-arrival instructions for people.
Then why are there still calls like this?
And you said your father's doing CPR?
Yes, he's doing everything he knows how to do. We're not very great at it. He's older. I'm blind.
There's no way of knowing if it would have made a difference, but people have died waiting for an ambulance while untrained operators had no choice but to disconnect the call.
My father's sick and he can't keep doing this.
Okay.
That's why. Please help us.
All right. We're giving them all the information. They're on the way, okay?
You can't take someone off a phone or a police frequency. You can't afford to train them right now because you don't have enough people.
That's very, very true, actually. The reality is that we do the best we can, but operations always has to take precedence.
When you call 911, it's more of a lottery. Either you get someone that's trained to help you or you don't.
I wouldn't call it a lottery when it's 90% certain that you're going to get an EMD trained person.
Do those odds mean 4,500 of the 45,000 medical calls in Cincinnati every year are answered by medically untrained operators?
There's usually between 7 and 9 of us on the phones at one time, and when dispatchers are on the phones, the chances of you getting them 1 in 9, 2 in 9 sometimes.
This is life and death.
Yes, it is. This is life and death.
Please hurry.
I live through this. I see my family again. The next person might not live.
And several states require full emergency medical training before someone can even sit in the chair and answer a single 911 call. Ohio has no minimum training requirements for 911 operators. Right now on WCPO.com, examine the evidence for yourself. We've got the documents, we've got the pictures, and we also have the video posted for you with that complete interview with the city's emergency communications manager.
Now, breaking news and the Tri-State's most accurate forecast. This is 9 on your side.
9 on your side's getting results after the I-Team's investigation of Cincinnati's 911 center.
Chief Investigator Brendan Keefe showed why some emergency medical calls are disconnected with no instructions given to the victims. Brendan?
Carol and Clyde, both the city of Cincinnati and Hamilton County are reacting to this. Our investigation on WCPO.com and also on 9 on your side. With a hiring freeze, Cincinnati's Emergency Communications Center is short 27 operators and dispatchers, and among those who are left, some are not medically trained. Let's start with a proposal to fix the problem from a city council member. 9 on your side reporter Natasha Williams live at City Hall. Natasha?
Councilman Charlie Winburn called our investigation very serious, and he says it needs to be addressed.
They just hung up.
Let me commend Channel 9 for helping us as a city, because this city is so big, and I want to thank you all for just doing a great journalistic or news reporting on this.
Cincinnati Councilmember Charlie Winburn says a 9 on your side investigation exposed problems in the dispatch center that cannot and should not be tolerated.
This is a very serious issue, and it's very inhumane and insensitive of the city administration to even let this go on one day.
Now, Councilman Winburn has proposed legislation to restore 27 employees. He wants to hire other employees and train the 911 operators and dispatchers medically. Now, so far, though, no one has signed on to help him with that legislation. In downtown Cincinnati, Natasha Williams, 9 on your side. And
Natasha, this is that proposal you were talking about right here. While the city council wrestles with whether to fill those vacant 27 operator dispatcher positions and how to pay for them, Hamilton County is thinking about taking over the city's 911 dispatch operation. County Commissioner Greg Hartman is drafting a resolution right now similar to this one, but it would combine the city and county emergency communication centers into one.
We've got a problem here. I would love to see someone say that this is not a problem after seeing your report. Clearly there's a problem, and we're finally starting to see where the city's budget woes and their attempt to patch them with Band-Aids is really putting the public at risk.
Hartman would keep Cincinnati's current center and employees right where they are, but put the county's communication management in charge. He plans to introduce that proposal sometime next week. And tonight at 11, the I-Team has an answer to this. Why are some 911 operators forced to work 16 straight hours answering emergency calls? Carol?
Let me commend Channel 9 for helping us as a city, because this city is so big, and I want to thank you all for just doing a great journalistic or news reporting on this.
Local leaders calling for action tonight after an I-Team report on 911.
I-Team Chief Investigator Brendan Keefe broke the story about how some dispatchers are not medically trained. And Brendan, your investigation is getting a lot of reaction.
That's right, Carol and Clyde. The resolution right in my hands was drafted by City Council member Charlie Winburn. It would fully train and fully staff the city's emergency communication center, which is down 27 operator dispatcher positions in a hiring freeze. Right now, some operators and dispatchers have no choice but to work 16 consecutive hours answering emergency calls. Help is on the way, but the first responder is the 911 operator.
Listen to me very carefully because I'm going to tell you how to do chest compressions, all right?
A heart attack call filled with detailed instructions lasting 7 minutes.
Open up her mouth. The paramedics are there. Let them take over. All right, you've done well.
Thank you, sir.
Another heart attack call lasts only a minute.
Please hurry.
Ma'am, I'm not the one that's coming. EMS is coming, okay?
Yes.
I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the call. They've been dispatched, okay?
The difference? One 911 operator was medically trained, the other was not.
When you call and you have a medical emergency, I should be able to tell you exactly what steps you need to take while you're waiting for the fire department to arrive on scene.
The public's essentially in danger. If someone's choking, you could die within the 3 to 5 minutes it takes for the fire department to get there. And with layoffs on the table, it's going to take longer than that. This is a serious problem.
The original plan was to cross-train all of us, and now they say we don't have the staff or time to do so.
Staffing is a problem for us. Obviously, the budget constraints have affected everybody, and it's impacted us very hard.
Joel Estes is the director of Cincinnati's Emergency Communication Center.
Someone sitting constantly taking 911 calls for 8 or 12 hours a day. Right now we're on 12-hour shifts, handling the types of calls that we handle. These things stress people out significantly.
He told City Council he has no choice but to force those stressed-out operators and dispatchers to work even longer.
If a person has worked a 12-hour shift, then they would be only mandated to work 4 hours.
That's 16 hours.
Correct.
Can you tell the people of Cincinnati that they're going to get the same level of help from someone who's on their 16th hour of answering emergency calls as they would from the person who's on their first or even their 12th hour?
Looking over the statistics, we haven't seen any problems with the folks that have worked those hours.
If it was you calling 911, you would want somebody with the right mental state taking your telephone call and helping you out.
The I-Team reviewed dozens of 911 calls obtained through a public records request.
Please,
Listen to me.
please.
Listen to me. Listen
Okay.
to me. We're already getting them started, okay?
I had a 3-month-old child that was not breathing. I was not able to legally give them CPR instructions, even though I know how to do CPR.
Would you be breaking policy to give them that advice?
Absolutely.
So you guys have been told if you're not medically trained, don't give the advice?
Correct.
If they're not medically certified, but they think they might be able to help the person on the other end of the line with a medical condition, are they allowed to give that assistance?
Somebody that's not medically trained, has no medical training, is not going to be making these types of assessments over the phone. So the answer to that is going to be no.
And today, the city once again insisted that all but 6 of its dispatchers have been cleared to give medical instructions over the phone. In this tweet, our sources inside the communications center tell the I-Team that more than 20 people, 20 dispatchers and operators who answer 911 have not been adequately trained and are not allowed to offer medical advice at all. County Commissioner Greg Hartman, who after seeing our investigation proposed a measure that would combine the city and county 911 operations, today said the odds are irrelevant if you happen to get an operator without medical training when your life is on the line. Carol?
All right, thanks.
The I-Team exposed a potential threat to your safety, the city's 911 center in crisis. Chief Investigator Brendan Keefe is on your side tonight with the staffing shortage that's affecting police officers, too. Brendan?
Clyde, Cincinnati police dispatchers used to work for the police department. Now they're part of the city's new emergency communications center, consolidated and civilianized. With dozens of unfilled positions, the city is pulling police dispatchers off the radios to answer 911 calls. When this police officer needs help, he may have to wait because his regular dispatcher may be answering 911 calls.
Cincinnati 911, what's the address of your emergency?
The reason? The Emergency Communications Center is down 27 operators and dispatchers. The attrition rate has increased every year since the city took police and fire dispatch away from the police and fire departments. And last year, 22% of 911 calls took longer than 10 seconds to answer.
Do you see them?
Since then, we've actually gotten up to 83% by reallocating some more resources to the time frames where we have the greatest call volumes.
Mr. Estes is passionate about the 911 calls being answered within a certain amount of seconds. If we have to combine police channels, like District 2 and 4 would be on one dispatcher's shoulders, so we could put a dispatcher on the phones to get that call answered faster.
Sometimes they're pulled off of police frequencies. They're pulled off of a district, and two districts are combined on one frequency with one dispatcher, so 911 calls can be answered. Is that true?
That is true. The reality is that we have to make sure that we get those 911 calls answered. I mean, that's our primary mission, get the calls answered and get the resources out there.
And that means sometimes fire dispatchers are now also dispatching police officers.
They only had 4 to 12 hours on the phones with a trained police call taker, and they unfortunately have put in the wrong incident types, which the difference between a robbery and a gun is a big difference.
I would like to see the emergency communications staff trained fully. No more excuses. I want us to serve the city of Cincinnati to the best of our ability.
And the city of Cincinnati took to Twitter in response to our investigation about medical trading, tweeting that back in 2010, only 15% of call takers were medically trained, while now most of them are certified. They say 90%. Our sources say different. But before consolidation, our sources say there was always a paramedic-trained fire dispatcher, 2 of them per shift, available to take over medical calls, and now they're busy answering other 911 calls.
The I-Team exposed problems with the 911 system in Cincinnati. Now the city and county are taking action. Chief Investigator Brendan Keefe is live with the details. Brendan?
Julie, Hamilton County Commissioners voted today, just a week after our I-Team investigation, to completely take over the city's Emergency Communications Center. Of course, the city of Cincinnati would have to agree, but today's City Council held a hearing of its own to ask city administrators about our I-Team investigation. 2 police dispatchers told us that they and some of their coworkers are not fully trained to handle medical calls, resulting in a game of roulette where a 911 caller in Cincinnati may get a medically trained operator during an emergency, or they might get an operator who simply dispatches an ambulance and hangs up. Today, city council members reacted when the 911 manager told them 90% of his staff is medically trained, but the number of vacancies in the communications center has grown to 29.
The way we've learned of the issues that may exist at the call center, I find unfortunate. I would really rather have learned that from our administration. I don't know when I may have to call 911, and I don't want my call disconnected. I don't want my call answered by someone who cannot help me. I will admit that I am very troubled about what appears to be the status of our call center. But I've not heard what we can do in the short term. And I will tell you, Ms. Kelly, people working 12 hours plus scares me.
In reaction to that comment from Wendell Young, the council member who chairs the Public Safety Committee, the city manager's office immediately asked council to fund the 911 center and fully fill those 29 vacant positions right away, not waiting for the next budget cycle, which, by the way, would only add 10 positions. They'd still be down those 19. Coming up on 9 on Your Side at 6, we'll hear from those county commissioners so outraged today they took action trying to take over the city's 911 center. Brendan Keefe, 9 on Your Side, Mount Adams.
All right, Brendan. And
when you dial 911 in Cincinnati, the person who answers may not have medical training. Just a week after the I-Team revealed serious staffing issues in the city's 911 center, Hamilton County is taking action. 9 on Your Side Chief Investigator Brendan Keefe is live with new information. Brendan?
Julie, Hamilton County Commissioners say the city's Emergency Communications Center is so troubled they want to take it over. The 3-member Hamilton County Commission took swift action today, calling it a critical public safety issue, and they demanded that all Hamilton County residents even those who live within the city limits of Cincinnati should get the same level of help and care in an emergency. Unlike their counterparts in the city, everyone who answers 911 in the county's communications center is a certified emergency medical dispatcher. And while the city is down 29 employees at the 911 and dispatch center, the county is down only 3 employees. Commissioners decided to consolidate the city and county communications centers by unanimous vote.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner Monzel?
Yes. Yes.
With the report that I saw that the I-team did, they've got problems at the city, and that's a serious public safety issue. And we think merging the 2 911 centers would alleviate some of those problems.
Let's not let this become a study that sits on a shelf, but let's make sure that both bodies of government take action.
And Commissioner Todd Portune there referring to the multiple studies conducted over 20 years that all said basically the city and county should combine their 911 and dispatch operations. 105 police and fire departments in the county already use the county's 911 center. Only Norwood and the city of Cincinnati don't. So what happens next? Well, this resolution gets sent to the city, to city council, the city manager, and the mayor, because the city of Cincinnati would have to agree to all of this. Commissioners say it would save money and save lives. Brendan Keefe, 9 on your side, Mount Adams.
Good.
Now, breaking news and the Tri-State's most accurate forecast. This is 9 on your side.
First tonight, new developments in an I-team investigation of Cincinnati's 911 operation. All 3 county commissioners want to take over the city system. And city officials are taking heat over the effect on officer safety. Chief Investigator Brendan Keefe broke the story, has the update now on keeping you safe.
The city took issue with our I-team investigation, suggesting problems in the emergency communications center aren't nearly as bad as several dispatchers say they are. But the manager who runs the center agreed with our I-team report showing how the hiring freeze is affecting the safety of police officers. Administrators were called before council's public safety committee to answer questions raised by our investigation. A week ago, the I-team revealed severe staffing issues have forced the city to pull police dispatchers off the radios to answer 911 calls.
Are we putting people at risk when we do this?
If we're doubling up police channels, then it is going to be a greater challenge for the dispatcher that is assigned to that doubled up channel, because now they're handling 2 districts instead of 1.
So am I correct? What you're telling me is that police officers, when you double channels, they are at risk?
There's a greater possibility that they could miss something coming over one of the channels when they have a combined channel going on.
Council members first learned that some dispatchers and operators were working 16-hour shifts from the I-team. When pressed by council for solutions, the city manager's office asked the hiring freeze be lifted immediately so the 29 vacant positions in the 911 center can be filled as soon as possible.
And Cincinnati City Council has to pass a budget by tomorrow, but the current plan calls for only 7 new hires at the 911 center, and it will take 9 months to train them.